People in the back now move to the front. Good morning. Good morning. All right, it's 10:30. We're going to go ahead and get started here. I'm going to test the delay cuz I've did some changes, so hopefully those changes work out. Can you guys hear me okay? Testing the mic, making sure it's working all right. How have we all been over these past few days? I hope it's not too distracting, that we're able to get some rest, that we're still able to get some work done. Increased family time, so we're able to enjoy each other's families and companies. Okay, so there's still a pretty big delay. Hmm. I thought I adjusted that. Okay, let me see. Settings. Do, 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 do. I know you guys get the nice side view as I'm trying to look into this. Okay. All right. I don't know. It says 5 seconds, but I don't think it's a 5 second delay. Okay, well, just stop me if you guys have any questions, but let's kind of talk about this. Let's go over this. So I'm hoping that we all watched 63 1. And let me kind of recap the lesson a little bit. Now, I don't need you guys, I just want to emphasize, I don't need you guys to print out anything. I don't need you guys, just everything on a separate sheet of paper is great. I'm looking into perhaps everything that we do over this like 2 week segment. I'm looking into that being extra credit. So please do your work because it's going to only benefit you and it's going to help you prepare as we try and transition to calculus. So we want to be able to do that. But in this section here in 63 1, I introduced the idea of a complex number, and a complex number has that imaginary part with it. As a refresher, I is the square root of -1, and I squared is -1. And so we talked about how we can simplify when we have those negatives inside of a square root. Then I defined a complex number as any number with a plus bi, where a and b are real numbers. And so that's how we like to write complex numbers. We were able to subtract them. So it was just like combining like terms. 8 plus 3 was 11. 6i plus 2i was 8i. We were able to multiply them. So we combine, like in this instance, if we did the box or, distributing, the most important piece is the 2i times the 3i was 6i squared. Well, the I squared became -1. Yeah, it's showing up. Good. And so just again, combine like terms. When we had I to a really large power, we were able to divide the exponent by 4, and whatever the remainder was, we can simplify it into whatever I we want. And so we kind of talked about that there. And then we talked about the complex conjugate. And so if you have an a plus bi, then the a minus bi is the conjugate. The a is the same, the bi is the same, it's just that plus and the minus is what change, and we call those conjugate pairs. So I threw some examples down there on some of the conjugates. And then the last is dividing by an I. So it's improper for us to divide by an irrational number. And so we have to get rid of it. So in this instance, we're dividing by I. And so anytime that we're dividing by I, the way you get rid of it is by multiplying both the numerator and the denominator by the conjugate. So since 1 minus 6i, the conjugate would be 1 plus 6i. And so I multiplied both the numerator and the denominator by that. And we simplified it. All of that is simplifying. And notice I wrote it, even though that was 32 plus 7i over 37, I wrote it as the a plus bi form. So it's a good idea to leave it that way. The last little piece to it is whenever we have a bar, all that means is the conjugate. So that bar on top just means the conjugate. And so 3 minus 2i with that bar over it is going to be 3 plus 2i. And you can actually stack those bars. And so here's a few properties from that. We don't necessarily need to memorize the properties. The math kind of works itself out. If you did memorize the properties, it just makes things a little quicker, but you don't necessarily have to. So if I had a bar and then another bar, it's saying the conjugate of the conjugate, well, that just ends up being the same thing. Okay, so that was that. Did anyone actually have any questions on 63-1 itself? I can go over any piece further. So I'll kind of wait a second to hear your responses. Yeah, I think that 30-second delay is still up. I'm going to look into that again. I'm going to do another test stream to see if I can figure that out. Okay, so I'm assuming by the lack of response that we're pretty much good to go on that. So let's all start working on the DI. So I'll switch that off to the side. And we can start working on the DI together. So let's look at number 1. So number 1, it says, use the given complex numbers z and w to find and simplify the following. Write your answers in a plus bi form. So this first bullet point, it's just saying what is z plus w. So then we just replace what z is. It says right here that z is 2 plus 3i. So 2 plus 3i. And then plus what my w is, which is 4i. And so now I just combine like terms. So 2 doesn't combine with anything. 3i and 4i combine together. That becomes 7i. And so that right there, that's going to be my answer. Now, is it in the a plus bi form? The answer is yes. That's a plus bi. Now, sometimes we can get a negative, right? What if this said 2 minus 7i? And the question is it still in the a plus bi form? The answer is yes, because b can be negative. And so if b was negative, that's why it would be a minus bi. So the second bullet point, we're multiplying z times w. So 2 plus 3i times 4i. And so we're going to multiply those together. So that gives me 8i. And then the next one is going to be plus 12i squared. Now we know from one of the definitions that I squared is going to be negative 1. So I can replace the I squared with negative 1. So that's going to give me 8i minus 12. Because negative 1 times 12 is negative 12. And then now I can rewrite it. I want it in the a plus bi form. So that's going to give me negative 12 plus 8i. And that right there is going to be my answer. Okay, so any questions on those first two that I went over? And I don't even know how this is showing up on your phone. I don't know if it's inconvenient to chat while it's showing up on your phone. So I apologize for that. All right, let's try the next one. It's 1 over z. So this one is going to be 1 over, and we said z is 2 plus 3i, so it's going to be 2 plus 3i. So for this one, we can't have a I or a square root in the denominator. So for us to get rid of an imaginary value in the denominator, we're going to multiply by the conjugate. So the conjugate's 2 minus 3i, and you have to do that to both the numerator and the denominator. So we're going to multiply that I through. So you're going to get 2 minus 3i on top. Now, every time you multiply the conjugate, i's will cancel out. So you get 4 minus 6i plus 6i, and then minus 9i squared. And so that's going to give me 2 minus 3i over, now those cancel out, this I squared, so negative 9 times negative 1, that's plus 9, so 4 plus 9 is 13. And now we can break that up into the a plus bi form. And so you're going to get 2 over 13 minus 3 over 13i. Any questions on that one? Okay. Cool. What other bullet points, if we think of this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Actually, we haven't gone over a z bar one, so let's go over that one. Maybe we'll do 8. So just don't worry. Screenshot this if you need to screenshot this. If you already wrote it down, great. But just all these videos will be up live, so this is something that you're going to be able to watch back later. So these videos will be up for you to access at a later time. So let's look at the z times z bar. So I know that my z is 2 plus 3i, and then my z bar is going to be the conjugate. That's what that bar means over z. It means it's the conjugate. So this is going to be 2 minus 3i. Now I just multiply that. 2 times 2 is 4, and then minus 6i, and then plus 6i, and then minus 9i squared. Those will cancel out, so you're going to get 4 plus I squared is negative 1, so 4 plus 9, you're going to get 13. So I numbered them for us. Are there any other of these bullet points that you would like me to go over? Welcome, Jazzy. Glad you were able to sleep in an extra 15 minutes. And you guys could also post the question in Discord, so you don't have to use the Google chat. If you use Google chat, other people will see it, but the people who are watching the stream anyways are the people in Discord, so it doesn't really matter. Except Ivan, of course. So just know that, and you could also private message me. Let's just say hypothetically, you know, you're afraid to type what your question is. Just send me a private message in Discord, and it's all anonymous. No one will have to know. Just let me know. But by the science or the silence, I'm assuming we're pretty comfortable with that, and so I'm going to start moving on. Okay. All right. So the next one, it says number 2, it says simplify the square root of -9. So the square root of -9 is the same thing as the square root of 9 times the square root of -1. The square root of 9 is 3. The square root of -1 is I. So this simplifies to 3i. Any questions there? Okay. Now this number 3, it says I to the 26th power. So this I to the 26, that's divisible. We have to take the 26 and divide it by 4. So 4 goes into 26 6 times. It's 24. So my remainder is 2. So this is going to simplify into I squared, which is going to be -1. Okay, so now that's the recap. Here's the actual assignment on some things to go over. Good question. No, you don't have to print them out. You can do all the work on a separate sheet of paper. If you buy like a notebook or a spiral notebook and you can fill everything in there, you can go ahead and do that. But yeah, I will take a look at them, turn them in. I like you hold on to stuff because it's a good studying tool. But you will turn them in to me, so to speak. I will look at them. And it's probably going to be some sort of, as an incentive to work on this, it'll probably be as some sort of like extra credit that's going to be applied. If that answers your question, Jazzy. And I know the Alex question is going to happen again. For Alex, you can go ahead and it's not going to be due next Wednesday. It's going to be due the Wednesday after spring break, since technically next week is spring break. So the Alex will start today, and it won't be due next week, but it'll be due the week after. So if you get them done today or tomorrow, then you don't have to worry about it anymore. Yay. All right, so I'm assuming we're kind of like working on these. Are there any questions so far, number 1s or number 2? If we number the bullet point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you could say question number 1, bullet point 8, and then I can go over it. Yeah, the main reason we don't have to print them is I don't know if everyone has printers. You know, you could probably see my printer right there in the back. Thumbs up. Yeah, there's got to be a way. There's got to be a way. that I gotta reduce my latency. Or reduce the... No, no. Yeah, I have it set to 5 seconds, but it's still... It's a bummer. It's a bummer that the latency is so high. If there's a way, if there's a will, there's a way. I like your attitude, Ivan. I like your attitude. That's how we built this beautiful civilization. Because we had will. All right, so I'm going to go over a few of these. Let's look at number 1. I'll choose the third bullet point, z squared. So that's just going to be I squared. Well, I squared is -1. I'll do the 9th bullet point, where it's z bar. So z bar squared. So my z is I. If my z is I, let's kind of like go through this thought process. And we need to look at it in the form of a plus bi. Well, that means that my b is +1. Well, I want the conjugate. So that means that z bar is going to have to be -I. So then the z bar part was going to be -I squared. Well, negative squared is positive. And so that becomes +I squared, and +I squared is -1. That's a great question, Jazzy. So all of that is up in the air. Don't know what's going to happen. We don't know. We basically don't know anything. I'm not even sure of what I'm allowed to even comment on, because they give us some updates and things like that. But what I can comment on is the fact that we're not sure what's going to happen. We could be... they could shorten the school year, meaning that whatever it is, we still end at the normal end date. They could extend the school year, which means we would have 2 weeks into summer, but we will not remake what we're doing now. So there is so much material in this pre-calculus that we're just pushing on forward. So for our own class, this makes zero difference. It's not going to hamper us at all. We're already engaging this in the same exact thing, this flipped classroom. So it's almost like nothing's different for our class. And worst case scenario, hypothetically, let's just say they extend the school year, meaning we have to make up 2-3 weeks or whatever it is in the summer. Well, all that means for us is we're going to have more time to cover more material. So when you move over into that pre-calc class, you're going to be even better. I'll have the best pre-calc kids ever going into that next class. So it's a win-win scenario. Honestly, it's a win-win scenario. And I will fight to get you guys moving on. So just understand that us engaging like this, as long as we don't graduate over Skype. You're funny, Cameron. That won't happen. Oh, that would be interesting. Would graduation be canceled? Yeah, that's super interesting. Yeah, I don't even know how that's going to work. So like I said, I don't know a whole lot of information. All I know for this class is that as we continue engaging this material and keep pushing and doing this, the only thing that it's going to do is benefit you. So engaging in actions that are win-win, that are going to benefit you, that's all I want to do. Yep, they're memorizing the unit circle, Ivan. They're memorizing the unit circle. So no worries there. So any other questions on number 1 or number 2? Minecraft. Oh my gosh. But seriously, type it in. Let me know. Like I'm going to work on them because I'm going to move on to the next ones. But I'm hoping it just means, yeah, I understand and I can go over it. And just remember, this will be posted online. So you guys are going to be able to access this anytime. And there's also the DI helper. Boom. So you have 2 things that you can go over. Okay, so let's move on. So number 3, and I'm going to do number 3 and number 4 because they're slightly different. So if you notice on number 3, the negatives are not together inside the square root. But in number 4, the negatives are together inside the square root. So we have to think about how things are grouped. So we have to think this negative 25, or the root negative 25, is separate from the root negative 4. So we have to simplify what's inside here first. So that's because we have to do exponents first. Order of operations, parentheses, exponents, then multiplication. So simplifying that, that's going to give me 5i. Simplifying that, that's going to give me 2i. So then that's going to be 10i squared, which is negative 10. Now versus number 4, the square root of negative 9 times negative 16, order of operations, we have to do that first. So 9 times 16 is going to be 144. So that's going to be, and then negative is a positive, and so that's then going to give me 12. Dude, could you imagine graduation on Minecraft? With the VR technology that they have nowadays, I could see something like that happening in like 10 years. Where, let's just say, your grandparents are, let's just say, 3,000 miles away. And they want to see you graduate. Well, they could put on their VR goggles. And then the graduation could have one of those VR 3D cameras. And so all that has to do is tap into some sort of network or some sort of program that taps into the camera. And through those VR goggles with that 3D camera, you'd be able to turn your head and look left and right, and you'd be able to see everything that's going on. Like, that's the future. That's happening sooner than we think. I know that they've already piloted that with like sports, where you could pay money, put on your VR goggles, and you can get into a quote unquote booth with your friends. And it's like you could look left or right and you see that there's 4 seats and it's where your friends would sit. But you could watch like a basketball game that happens. And you guys are sitting there watching the basketball game and you guys are sitting and chatting and stuff like that. Like, that's already happened. It's kind of crazy. So you wouldn't have to do it in Minecraft. You just need a pair of VR goggles. All right, let's look at number 6. So we have I to the 117th. So we said as a shortcut, I should take the 117 and divide that by 4. So 4 goes into 11 twice. 4 goes into 37 9 times. And I get remainder 1. And so with my remainder, I know that it's going to simplify to I to the first power. Any questions with that? Um, so what Gavin Newsom said is not anything from the CDC or the World Health Organization or the Board of Education in California or the Federal Board of Education or from any school districts or anything like that. So just know that, guys, playing Minecraft. 1 second. But the yeah, no. I mean I think he was just almost quote unquote just talking his opinion. Um but I'm not quite certain if the opinion's necessarily based on any estimations or policy. But that's not to say it couldn't do that. Right? So that's the other piece of it, is that it very well could be like that. And we just don't know. And because we don't know, that's why the best case scenario would be for us to just continue doing this. And if we continue doing this, that means you are learning and you're understanding pre-calculus, which is going to enable you to move on to AP calculus. So it's a win-win for you guys, continue engaging in the material. So, because, if we don't finish the school year, then that's a big question mark. Like, what does that mean for policy and all that different stuff? We just don't know, right? Because we've never, at least I can't recall ever the school system having to face an issue like this. So this is all new territory. And so the best thing to do is just continue to learn, because the worst case scenario is you've learned. The best case scenario is you've learned. Win-win. All right, let's look at number 8. So we have negative I to the 173rd power. So we leave that negative out there. And then I can take that 173 and divide that into 4. So 4 goes into 17 4 times. 4 goes into 13 3. And then I have remainder 1. And so this becomes I to the first. So that negative is still there. And so this just becomes negative I. Full transparency. Playing Minecraft. That's so funny. Time to dock your points. Okay, any questions on those? Moving right along. Okay, so it says find the exact value of cosine, sine, and tangent of the given angle. So going back to what Ivan said, unit circle. So if I know that my theta equals pi over 2, so that's going to be number 9. And so we're now going to find the sine of pi halves, the cosine of pi halves, and the tangent of pi halves, and what those equal. So the sine of pi halves on our unit circle is up here. Well, that point right there is 0, 1. So my sine of pi halves is going to be 1. The cosine of pi halves is going to be 0. And then the tangent is going to be 1 over 0, which is undefined. Questions on that one? But I'm pretty confident that we understand the unit circle and we understand the elements of the unit circle. Like, this whole talking with the delay thing is so weird. It's because it's like I want input, but I have to wait for input. And so it's just kind of awkward. All right, next one. Number 12. So we have a triangle, alpha, beta, gamma. We'll just say ABC, why not? Just makes it a little easier for us. So if I know that that's 95 degrees and B is 85 degrees and side A is 33.33 degrees. So this is angle, angle, side. So I know that that's law of sines because it's angle, angle, side. I can find this third angle here by doing 180 degrees minus 95 minus 85. Now when we do that though, you should be thinking, that doesn't make any sense because when I subtracted those, it gives me 0. Well, how is that possible? How can my angle here be 0 degrees? Well, it can't. So, not a triangle. Not a triangle. Then we just move on. Pretty much, we just move on. All right, the last two. So number 14, solving an absolute value equation. So we're going to break that 2x minus 1. We're going to break that into two versions. A positive version. So positive, right, if we imagine there's a positive in front. And then a negative version. So we're going to solve each one. So I'm going to get 2x minus 1 equals x plus 1. And then that negative is going to distribute. So I get negative 2x plus 1 equals x plus 1. So once you break those up, then you always have to solve it. And so minus x, add 1. And so you're going to get x equals 2. And then over here, minus x minus 1. And so you're going to get negative 3x equals 0. Divide by negative 3, you're going to get x equals 0. Now, we have to test these because there might be some extraneous solutions. We might get scenarios in which a negative number equals a positive number, things like that. So we have to test. So plugging them back in, if I plug in 2, I get the absolute value of 2 times 2 minus 1 equals 2 plus 1. So 4 minus 1 is 3. Absolute value is 3 is 3. 3 equals 3. Check. So this is a confirmed solution. Yay. But now if I plug in 0, I'm going to get absolute value of negative 1. Does that equal positive 1? And so 1 equals 1. Check. That works. So this is also a confirmed solution. And so those are our answers there. All right, so any questions with that? Now I'm hoping that some of us have worked through the worksheet a little bit. Have we ran across any issues going through the worksheet? This delay. Not really. Great. Can we see Joey for motivation to finish the worksheet? You're funny. I will. I will try and get Joey and Chandler on a stream at a later time. Not today though. Not today. Although Chandler does look super funny because the way that we shaved him, he has like this full on like goatee beard looking thing. It's so funny looking. Or maybe I'll just upload a YouTube video of my dogs playing. Something like that. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Okay, well, since we don't have so many other questions, what I just want to let you guys know, if you do run across a question in this worksheet, what you can do is you can say, "Hey, Mr. Duval," like, and you can do this on your phone because you can screenshot your phone or anything, but you could say, and let's say it was this question right here, right? And you don't know it. And you guys can check your Discord right now, and you guys can just take that and you can copy that, and then you can say, "I don't know how to do this." Right? Let me move over Discord. Right? So you can actually take a screenshot of that and then send it over. And then you can hit upload. And then if you guys check your Discord right now, it'll be there. Paint, where are you? There you go. I don't know why everything closed like that. That was super weird. But you guys will be able to post that, and then what'll end up happening is you guys are going to be like, you can ask a question and I'll more than happy answer it. So that's a nice thing about Discord. If you don't want to post that for everyone to see, what you can do is you can just private message me it. So, well, because we don't have any other questions, what I'm going to do is, instead of just sitting here and waiting here into the void, I'm just going to go ahead and end the stream now. I will be back on in about 30 minutes for the integrated 3 stream. So thanks, guys. It was fun. This was like the first time that I did something like this, so hopefully it'll only improve from there. I could use some ideas to things to improve it, but I really, really appreciate it. And like I said, if you have questions on this, please let me know. For tonight, we're going to watch the 63-2, so we're going to work on the 63-2 tomorrow. So please watch that and get ready for tomorrow. Yep, I will be saving all these live streams for later reference. Tomorrow's video is 63-2. So if you go to that document that I linked to everyone, if you go to the info and announcements, this one right here, this Duval Learning Online. So if you go to that and you click on that, it'll have an outline of every single video when we're doing them. If that makes any sense, Hannah. Great. Well, if that answers everyone's questions, remember you can still contact me through Discord. Other than that, it was fun. Talk to you guys later.